Hi, and welcome to the Hair to Tech podcast. I'm Jen Stone.
And I'm Amber Pearson.
And we are so excited. I know we say that every time, but you know why?
Because we really are.
We really
every
are
single
excited.
time.
We get the coolest guests on, and today
Yes.
we have with us, please introduce yourself.
My name is Michelle Ashby, and I am a systems engineer. I have 25 years experience in cybersecurity and infrastructure engineering, DevOps, and I've also led a bunch of engineering teams. And I just love technology in any way, shape, or form. So as long as it interests me, I do it. And so I have also dabbled in machine learning and artificial intelligence, and I have some really interesting results from that. And it's been quite a journey for me.
That is so cool. You're exactly the kind of person. So, and I know that you kind of know a little bit about the show. Just for people who, if this is their first time kind of tuning into us, here's the premise. And because it's reality, Amber has been in hair for over a decade, and now she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go do tech. And so as we've started talking to people, we tried to kind of talk to people in various types of tech, but I think Amber is leaning towards cybersecurity more and more every time. Mm-hmm. And so your experience, I think, is going to be super interesting for Amber. So
yes, I'm so excited.
Especially
because like in my adult life, hair is all I know. Yeah. And self-employment is all I know. I don't know I don't know a lot of things about a lot of things, but
so like, first of all, how do you do the job? And then second of all, how do you do it with a team? Because that's so foreign. And yet in cybersecurity, we don't do what we do in as a single person, right?
Sure. Well, the first thing I want to say is it's not foreign. Hair is art. And one of the things that actually drew me to this podcast is my mom was a master cosmetologist for about 20, 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I grew up in a salon.
Okay.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
My dad did construction. I was born in the United States. My family was born in Cuba.
Oh, wow.
They came here very young.
Okay.
So I was the first person from my family to be born in the U.S.
Awesome.
And so my family are all refugees. And my grandma, she sewed in sweatshops her entire life. My grandpa worked for General Electric. And then my mom, she did hair. Like that was the thing. She was a model and then she did hair. And she always considered hair as a form of art. And I always said, yeah, this is. I mean, it's different than everything else. Well, after 25 years, it takes its toll. She had arthritis in her hands to the point where like she would just move her hands and they would go like this. Yeah. And she's like, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And so she decided like, I need to sit down and do something. And she always saw me kind of like doing computer stuff when I was growing up because we had an uncle that actually went to college. He was the only one besides me that went to college. He put a computer in front of my face when I was like 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. And so she always kind of latched onto that and was always following me. Huh. And so one day she just says, you know what? I'm going to still keep some of my clients because they're awesome. But at the same time, I'm going to do graphics design.
Yeah.
And so she became a huge graphics designer. In like 2000, 2001, 2002, she was all over the place. She was doing things for Linux desktops. She was doing icons. She was doing like full themes for like X Windows.
Wow.
And for Mac. And just seeing her go nuts with that was awesome because at that point I was already like in the industry.
Sure.
Like by the time she started doing that, and I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And she's like, remember, hair is art. And an artist can just transfer their vision to some other type of art. And I think even cybersecurity, everything is an art form and you have to master it in a certain way. And so I think that is
super interesting.
That is
Who would
so
know
cool.
that we would find that story here
So
today?
She's the OG hair detective.
Exactly.
That's awesome. I love it. That's so rad.
yeah, like it's like I have many tales of bad hair gone wrong because it's like, oh, I'm the daughter of a hairstylist, so I can do whatever I want with my hair. Well, my hair is naturally very wavy, as you can see. Normally, I straighten it out and I do like very like pieced out like texturized stuff. But one day when I was probably about like 13 or 14, I was like, Mom, I'm going to get a straightener perm. And she's like, that's not going to work. She's like, your hair's too thin. And I'm like, but it's like yours. She's like, no, it's not. My mom's hair, she had like an afro. And she's like, that's not going to work. Well, I did it anyway. Most of my hair fell out.
Oh, no.
Like right here. I mean, it was like that stuff that's like lye. And it was just like, I had no idea what I was doing. And so then, it's like I had other stories about, like, I'm going to dye my hair black. She's like, good luck.
Have fun with that. Don't tell me when it needs to be corrected. Okay.
Want to go back to your natural color, don't call me.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so great,
so
though.
yeah,
So you've got that background, so you know
I've
exactly where.
everything.
So you know exactly where. You know exactly where Amber's coming from then in wanting to go from hair to tech. She has told me many times how much her back hurts at the end of the day and how physically demanding hairdressing is. I didn't know that because it's completely out of my realm of experience. And so interesting what kind of parallels that we're hearing in your story. Mm-hmm. So what kind of questions do you have for Michelle?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I have so many. How much time do we have here?
1 sec, so I can get soda. Because I am like, it's so dry here.
It
Oh
is.
my gosh, it's impossible.
Utah is a desert.
Hydrate
Yeah.
enough. Yeah.
I've been here since 2003 and I still can't get it.
Never. It's
I have gnats.
gnats.
Chickens.
Yes.
Remember, I have chickens, and so sometimes they come into the podcast studio.
To make the experience, yes.
Well, pull up your
Yes,
question.
my
So
questions.
one of the things that you talked about was Kali Linux, and I was telling her that one of these days that's something that I think she should just get and start to play with because it's a really good way to start learning about cybersecurity. You want to tell us what you do with that and just kind of from a high level?
Or what even is Kali Linux? Because there are so many versions of Linux, right? So like what is it about Kali Linux that is the good place to start? Or
Right. So Kali Linux has probably one of the most complete tool sets for penetration testing and security. And I mean, it really comes equipped with almost everything that you need.
okay.
And so you have so many things at your disposal that you can use. And I think that Kali is a good entryway. And I use it. I mean, I still use it. Like there's other people that are like, oh, there's this Linux that's a little bit better for security or this. But I mean, like it's apples and oranges at that point. It's just like you've got some tools in this side that's being updated more. But, at the end of the day, the cool thing about Linux is that you can add another distribution to your to like apt-get or, anything like that. And then you can just download what you need. So if this distribution has it, you can probably get it and compile it in your system. So it's not like you need any other distribution. I think Kali is probably the best tool set that you can start out with, for
Okay.
sure.
Cool. So I just downloaded, as per recommendations, going down the YouTube rabbit hole of like, how in the hell do I start in this? Because zero background. I'm making this up as I go with, of course, the mentorship of Jen and the YouTube,
And all the amazing people that
and
we
all
get to come and talk to you.
Yes.
But didn't you say that you downloaded your first
Yes.
virtual machine this
Yes,
week? So
I did. I downloaded my first virtual machine that was recommended by someone else that I have talked to, and also on, again, one of the YouTube videos that I've watched, and then got a Udemy class about like understanding the very basics of Linux just to get familiar with the command line. Like I'm saying these terms like I actually know what that means. Like with with the command line. So just going through that, like Linux is just something that I hear over and over and over and over again. So I just downloaded that. I'm slowly making my way through that Udemy course and doing my best not to get stuck on like tiny little things. I'm like, if it's important enough, I'll come back to it. Or if I get stuck, then I'll Google it, how to get around that.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, my first virtual machine. Woo!
Awesome. Well done.
Thank you.
Your first VM, is it, are you using Vagrant or?
I don't know.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I mean, like, there's very many different types. That's just the same thing. It's like there's many types of Linux. There's many types of virtual machines. You can do Docker, you can do Vagrant, you can do OpenBox, you can do Hyper-V, you can do all these things. Yeah. And they all equate to a virtual machine at the end of the day. Sure. It just depends on what virtual machine image that you're using. And so it's pretty, it's like, you know, they don't have it figured out quite yet, like, you know, HD DVD versus Blu-ray. Mm-hmm. You only got 2 formats, but in the computer world, you've got 10. Yeah. And they all do the same thing at the end of the day.
And honestly, don't stress about what it's called, because I'm sitting here going, it doesn't matter. I have a couple of VMs on my machine, and I can't remember what I use for it. I just use it, right? So, so that's one of those things where it's okay to set some knowledge aside and figure it out later. Yeah.
Because you can follow the how-to, and it'll be like, install this. Okay, I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right.
Now I've got this running. Now install this for this virtual machine. Okay, I don't have to worry about it anymore. Yeah. I've got this running. Now, if you want to update them, that's a different story. However, if you want to start getting into it, then, I mean, like the first step is just run it. Right. And then you have to, you figure out more and more later.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I don't even remember my kids' names half the time, so sorry, guys.
I only have one, so it's easy.
All right. So what's your questions then?
Questions. Okay. So you described how you got into tech, which is so awesome. Now, what you are currently doing, what does a typical day look like for you?
So right now I'm currently consulting. Okay. And normally I would be, I'm either in between consulting or working for a company, you know, day job type thing. It just depends on, you know, what I'm feeling at the time. Sure. And where I go. You know, it's like I always want to push forward to do great things and amazing things. And I just, that is my dream, to just keep moving the ball forward. And so right now I'm doing consulting, trying to kind of, you know, just mix in that space for a little bit more. And so my day is different every day because consulting is different every day. Right. You know, I might have challenges from one client that says we got hacked, or I need log readouts for, you know, this or this or that. Or I might have days that I'm just writing blog posts. Oh. I mean, it's really, you know, it could be different day to day. But I worked for Zact right now, Zact Consulting, and we're mostly a Microsoft shop. But I have developed a very big type of cybersecurity presentation that I take to the clients, because before I came in, there was no type of cybersecurity wing there. And so I said, why not develop this and start taking it to the clients? Because even your medium-sized, small-sized businesses need to know that, you know, you're vulnerable at every step of the way. Mm-hmm. But one of my specialties is actually in social engineering. And so I will also cover that very thoroughly. And I play games with the people when I do the presentation, where I'll like drop a USB stick in the middle of the room. And if somebody finds it, I'll just be like, so what were your first thoughts when you found that? You want to know who it belongs to, don't you? You want to know what's on it. You put it in your machine. Mm-hmm. That's first wrong thing to do. It's just like, it goes from there, and it sparks conversation because I'm talking to the end user. I'm not talking to the tech guys.
Right.
Tech guys. Okay. The tech guys are still in this because they're required to be in part of the security training too.
Sure.
But I'm talking to the frontline people. And then I take it a step further and I say, if I call you and I've got all this information about you because you're a frontline person, and I already know that you're a frontline person, but I've gotten that information from Instagram, from your Facebook, from your Twitter.
Right.
Because you post everything to the world.
Right.
And I've already got all that information. What are you going to do to combat that? And a lot of people don't realize that they could be completely socially engineered without even them having anything to do with it.
Right.
Because it is other companies that need to be educated on that kind of thing. And everybody's really good at the tech side of mitigation. We've got intrusion detection. We've got all this stuff. We can tell you when you've got your malware. But can you tell me that your individual is not going to be compromised?
Yeah, you cannot. And interesting that you brought that up just this week. One of my friends on Facebook said, "Hey, post your birth date and go into Google and say Florida man, and then enter your birth date, and then you'll get a headline. Here was my headline." So I went in and I did the reverse thing, and I said, "Oh, so you were born on March 5th. How did you know that? Because you just told the entire world what your birth date is by answering a Florida man headline question, right?" And so these are some of the things that people don't think about, and that they really do need constant reminding from the consultants and the trainers and the educators out there. Absolutely. In security.
Yeah. And I think it's a big part of my job because you never know what's hiding around the corner.
Right.
When I was younger, one of the things that I liked to do was call, there was a company, I don't even know, it was like ITI Encore or something. It was kind of like an AT&T or whatever, but we would call them from like a video or a audio conference line back in the day when there was only calling. And it'd be like, "Oh, I'm down on the first floor and I need to dial out to blah, blah, blah. Sure. Yeah, let's hook you up." And it was just like so easy. And so that got me started on a path of people are your first line of defense.
Yep.
And you can have the best technology in the world, but at the end of the day, you need to educate the people.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, they are your biggest vulnerability half the time.
Sure.
Because they will give out their passwords. They will put their passwords under the keyboards. They will do all sorts of things that make sense to them, but it's like, hey, this is probably what the hacker's looking for.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's...
And then, the times that we live in right now with people with a heightened sense of stress, it's easier to get them to fall for things when they have an emotional response to something, right? So one of the ones that I got forwarded from a friend the other day was, and it looked super legit. When I went and looked it out, they were looking at, they connected to the actual UN monetary payout page, like all of these things that were real in the world. And then they said, wow, we're the ones that are going to facilitate this payout that the UN owes you right now. So you go and you look at the link. Yeah, it's a legit link to a legit UN page, right? But they say, hey, in order for us to facilitate this so you can get this money quickly, we need you to respond with this information. We need your social security number. We need your full name, birth date, like all of the things that you need to have in order to completely take over somebody's identity, right? And here we are right now, and everybody's going, things are weird, things are stressful, I need money, what do I do? Oh, I'm owed money. That sounds like something I've heard of on the news. Gonna look at the webpage. Yeah, that looks like a legit, I better give them my information so I can get this money, right? Because people react to things that make us emotionally respond. And that's why phishing works, right?
Yeah, that's the way it works. And they will really play off of people's fears. Whatever is on the news is what you can expect the next phishing thing to be, whether it's vishing or phishing. And that's one of the things that I've always kind of like tried to stay on top of, because it's like we've got some of the security things, like computer side taken care of. I mean, we've got really good AI. We've got really good analytics. They're able to spot the malware. I mean, like some of the companies that are just up and coming and rising are really, really good at this stuff.
Right.
But there isn't a way to really get to the human element of it. Because you can't just say, I'm going to throw some AI at humans.
Yeah.
It just doesn't really work.
They actually have to learn the things you're telling them.
Yeah. I mean, like you can throw AI pictures and it just confuses people. However, I don't think that you can really do behavioral analytics based on who's in your company. I mean, you might be able to get there one day. And I think that that's probably where we need to go in science. But for right now, we have to have people that are educated and understand, because it's like, red flags, just basic things like, okay, if anybody ever asks you to respond with a social security number over email, red flag.
It's right there. Really bad idea. We should all know that that's a bad idea.
That's a bad idea. It's like there's places that I even feel dirty almost, like responding to like my investment place where it's like, enter the last 4 digits. I'm like, no, verify something else.
Or almost every mortgage company's web page.
Because there's other portions that you can guess.
Yeah.
No, it's like just things like that. Or, half the time it's like they've got keyloggers just going, like for example, the USB stick that I always use in my trainings. I tell them, so you got a keylogger now on your machine. You probably have no idea you've had it for 2 years.
Some people don't even know what the word keylogger means.
Wait, can I use this as a quiz opportunity?
Yes.
To explain what a keylogger is.
Amber, what is it? What is a keylogger?
So it's a software that's installed that keeps track of all of the keystrokes that are done, right?
High five.
Woo!
Yeah.
Passed the quiz.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yes. Perfect.
Awesome.
Yay. Thank you, YouTube.
So yeah, it's like it's interesting because they may have had a keylogger for 2 years. So what's been compromised in that period of time?
Everything.
A lot.
Just
probably everything that you've ever done in your entire life. Your bank, your everything. Everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
Great. Well, what's next?
Yes. Okay. So it sounds like what you're doing right now, which is consulting, which I feel like, I can't help but think long-term here, because that's just kind of what my brain does. I'm like, okay, how long would it take for me until I can get back to self-employed again?
So what you're saying is you like the idea of being self-employed, so consulting is kind of
right.
It's because you have an entrepreneurial brain.
Right. And also I just don't like being told what to do.
I don't like being told what to do either.
Don't tell me what to do. So how... what my question usually is who do you report to and how often? But to change it for consulting, how have you set up these relationships? How do you find these clients? Because sometimes I feel like these companies don't even know that they need this kind of information or they need this kind of consulting. So how have you gone about bringing clients into your pipeline?
A lot of marketing. We only have a marketing team of 1, and she's amazing, and she really helps us like kind of bring out like our message. So one of the things I do, and it's like I went from a 2,500 person organization to a 15 person organization, just because I wanted to slow down a little bit and just kind of focus on getting back up to where I needed to be. because sometimes you lose that in a really big company.
Mm-hmm.
And while I don't mind, it's like I've worked for Disney. I mean, I've worked for big and I've worked for small. And I like to kind of go, okay, now I need a check and I need to go back.
Okay.
And so one of the things that we have is that our marketing team will kind of like reach out to the sales guys. There's like a few sales guys, there's not many. And they kind of keep in contact with people here in Salt Lake. And, they've got a steady stream of customers. But one of the things that we do as engineers and as tech leads, because I'm a tech lead, is kind of figure out what people don't realize they need.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you've already got this in either a licensing structure that you've had from Microsoft or from something else, and you're not utilizing it. Mm-hmm. Whether it's identity protection or identity management or anything like that. And so what we do is we kind of go and give them kind of a presentation on that, and then we work on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and you mentioned earlier about blog posts and speaking. So, you yourself put yourself out there and create some of these networking opportunities. I'm sure just by putting out content and letting people know what you know and kind of piquing their interest that way. Absolutely.
I mean, we'll even do things like one of the things that we started doing was, and I'm trying to get this going. It's called Teams Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And what it is just basically like, how do you leverage Teams in the time of where everybody's working remotely?
Sure.
How do you leverage, I would probably say Slack and all the other technologies, not just Teams, because not everybody is using that. But if you've got the license, it's free.
Right.
So why not? Why not take advantage? There's a lot of companies that still don't realize they have that opportunity. Right. And they're like, oh, we're looking into this or we're looking into that. And it's like, this is free for you guys and it's just as good.
Nice. So that's a real value that somebody, kind of a third party that's from the outside looking in, can help a lot of these organizations. Because like you, I have worked for large organizations and I've worked for small organizations and I've done consulting and I've been a full-time employee. Mm-hmm. And the real value of the consultant is they look at things with fresh eyes. They look at things without some of the politics that are embedded in any organization. They look at things without the bias that exists just by being part of an organization, and they can help organizations take advantage of what they already have without even paying for another thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think that is kind of neat about consulting, and people might poo-poo this, but I think that when you're working for an organization, you're part of a team, you're part of a bigger picture, you're part of the structure, right? So you can't really go, you can go a little bit rogue, but there's boundaries too, right? I mean, just political boundaries. But when you're a consultant and they're hiring you to be their expert, you can tell them, this is not the way you do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And you can actually say, this is the way you want to go forward. Mm-hmm. So, the message that the customers always write kind of goes, customer probably needs some guidance.
Right. That's what they hire you.
Some handholding. Now, you don't tell them that they're wrong, but you help them along the path. And I think that that's like pretty rewarding.
Unless you're an auditor and you tell people they're wrong all the time. But you do it nicely. You do it in the most gentle way possible.
Yes, absolutely. Namaste. You're wrong.
Look, I love you guys, but... So what's your next one?
Yes. Next one is... Oh, come on. It is... Okay. Actually, going along this line, do you have any recommendations for finding a company that has a culture that feels fitting when you are in the season of wanting to work with a company or an organization as an employee?
Mm-hmm. To me, I have been through so many different cultures, and I'm not going to get into companies, but I will say that there are companies that will bring you in because their culture is the best. And then you get there and you're like drinking the Kool-Aid or the flavor. And it's the best thing ever. And then all of a sudden you start seeing the cracks in the culture. And it's just like, oh, they practice what they preach and it's from the top down and it's wonderful and it's everything. But then why are all these people upset?
Yeah.
It's like there's a certain type of push-pull with that. And, one of my biggest things with a company is that I always ask when I go work for them is, how transparent are you? Because you can have the best culture in the world, but if you're not telling your people what is going on, then they are not going to build that trust with you. And building trust is obviously the most important, I think, in any organization. Because when your people trust you, they will work.
Yeah.
And they will work hard.
Yep.
They will do everything it takes because they believe in the mission, they believe in the vision, and they have the trust. Because sometimes you've got, the Kool-Aid going around.
Sure.
Everybody's like, yeah, we're ready to work 60-hour, weeks and all this, and because yay, culture. But at the same time, they're doing it because they're afraid that somebody is going to get on them, next week when the job's not done.
Sounds like we've had some similar experiences. So I don't know if this is cynical or not, but have you noticed, and maybe take this with a grain of salt, I could be, maybe it's my problem, but have you noticed that when people say that to you, we have the best culture and we care about our people, when they tell you that up front and really emphasize that, it's like that's where it's not. That's the opposite of reality. And then you get other organizations where they're like, we're doing our best here and we're trying to figure it out together. And those are the ones that are actually the transparent ones that really are bringing forward that culture that you want. And what have you seen that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. They're genuine.
Yes.
They're like,
yeah,
we might not have it all right.
Yeah.
But we're just doing our best.
Right.
And I think that that's like so important.
Sure.
Because they're telling you right there, we're not perfect.
Yeah.
And then there's these other companies like, we've got the best culture in the world because we got voted this and we got voted that. And it's like, okay, that's great. And then you get there and you're like, maybe not really.
Who'd you pay to vote for you?
But I would prefer somebody to tell me honestly, like, we're just doing what we can.
Yeah.
I mean, we might be really good, but we're still trying to get better.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, you can't just be the best. You're always needing to try to get better.
Sure. Yeah, I love that you shared that. Before I was at the company that I'm at now, I was consulting because I swore, and I don't know how long you worked in the IT realm in Utah, but it's its own special thing.
Oh, it's a very special world. 2003 is when I moved here.
Okay, so yeah, you've been in Utah long enough. So I started off in IT in the late 90s in Utah, and I finally had enough of some of the negative cultures that we sometimes see with they're for in a lot of organizations, and it's getting better. But in a lot of organizations in Utah, the IT world was very much an old boys club, and women, frankly, not to get into gender politics, but women weren't invited to play, right? And if you wanted to be part of that, you would get stopped at every turn, or used as a scapegoat in many situations. And so when I got offered the current full-time job that I have now, that's the reason I said no 3 times before saying yes. And here's why I eventually said yes. I spoke with the man who eventually became my VP, and he slapped down a printed out copy of, here's how we pay. Everybody starts at this number. And then when you reach these milestones, you get this and then this number. And then here's how the numbers go for everyone. And I literally said, you mean you're not going to make me negotiate for my salary and then pay me less because I'm female? And he said, well, that would be illogical. And that's when I said yes to the job, because look at the transparency in just the payment practices there. And everything was like that. It is not a perfect, nothing's perfect. But the amount of transparency meant more to me than potentially larger numbers of income from another place. And
it's funny because one of the things that I saw as a failure of culture in one of the former companies I worked for was, we had yearly reviews. There were yearly reviews that were done by your employees. So I was leading a team, and my employees gave me a review. And there were certain things that I could have done better. Not like a ton. I mean, it wasn't a bad review.
Right, we can always do things better. Sure.
In certain things that I could do better. So here's where it got weird. What I thought would be the best thing to do was to, and I didn't think of this in any way of like shaming them or anything like that. Cause I was just like, I am so glad that you guys gave me this because this is an opportunity for me to learn.
Sure.
And I really want to just like absorb from you.
Yeah.
Not because I'm, a new leader in the last 5 years, but I need to learn this from you. I need to learn what your passions are. I need to learn what you really want from me. And so I saw the review. I mean, it's very detailed. And so I brought them in a room and I said, I am being transparent. Here is my full self. I'm humbled in front of you. Attack me. I was just kind of like, let it roll,
right.
And later on, it went well. The meeting went well because they were like, okay, we need a little bit more out of you from like the training side. You need to fight for us for this or that, or, and I was just like, noted. Good. Yeah. Opportunities for me, things that I can do better.
Sure.
And after that, I got feedback from my manager. And he told me that he thought that was awkward because I was putting myself too humble for them. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, this is what we're supposed to do. This is what my leadership training did. It said that you're supposed to basically do servant leadership. I am serving you. I am teaching you. I am leading you and I'm guiding you. But what you're telling me is totally different.
Well, that's because if one manager does that and the other managers don't do that, what, going and shaming your manager.
What I was taught.
That's
by
rough.
the multiple classes that I took. So yeah, anyway, that's just an example. And they were a little bit like, oh, well, some people might think that you are a little bit too overwhelming. And I'm like, and getting into the gender side. Yeah.
Can you just scale back your personality just a little?
New experience for me.
That's
in Utah. For that reason.
Yeah, no, I've heard similar things. Scale back your personality, or we want you're too strong. We want transparency, but we don't want that much transparency. Can you stop being a change agent? Was one of them that I got. Can you stop being a change agent?
Can you not move us forward?
I'm pretty sure I was actually in a process improvement role at the time. So, I mean, that one made
You're too
zero.
good at your job.
Yes. Stop doing your job. We don't want to change. Stop doing your job.
So I'm sorry that you're getting all of this information because this is what you're going to be facing.
No, this is exactly what I.
And I'm sorry.
No, this is exactly what I want and what I need to know. I mean, I feel like if I was an employee at a company, I would be like, thank God Michelle is my boss, because that's how I would try to lead. Also, is like, tell me how to make this better, because I mean, I'm not aware of my blind spots without you. So please tell me.
Exactly.
So that is,
it's hard to change, though.
You have to be an active listener and you have to be a servant leader. That's what I think is like the most important thing. your people aren't just people that you get to boss around. I don't
Right.
believe in the word boss.
Yeah.
I believe in leading, leading by example, or leading through change, leading through opportunities. I just don't believe in the word boss, manager. I don't even believe in that word. And so, it's like you're not managing anything. You're enabling. You're enabling people. You're making them better because you're always looking for growth opportunities for them.
So maybe when
And
you're
so-
looking for a job, and some of the words that she's talking about are things to listen for as you interview and as you look at maybe a place that you belong, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
That was
for sure.
so helpful.
Yeah, but like I got that, growing up, being a computer kid. I grew up in the late 80s, 90s in the BBS world. Modems, dial-up, that kind of world before the internet really took off. And I think there were about 2 girls for maybe 500 guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do have that I got that like kind of grit because I've been there, done that, I've had to deal with it growing up, that it just kind of goes like this off my shoulder. I don't mind it. But at the same time, when I moved here, it was seen as combative.
Yeah, it really depends on how the cultures that you move into, understanding and getting that takes some time, and so sometimes you can run into some conflict that you didn't mean to.
Sure, but I mean, like every culture has ways of working around it, and really, I mean, some of the better relationships that I built are with people that I had hard times with, which is awesome. And so it's like, it's like sometimes you just try a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And if they are good people at the end of the day, they are going to see it.
Sure.
And so it's, it just takes a little bit more effort and just a little bit more like, oh, if only they could see this, they'll come around. And then, but it's rewarding. It's super rewarding at the end of the day.
Man, that is such a positive place to wrap it up for today. Michelle, you have been so awesome. Thanks for coming and talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Really?
What is your blog? Because I definitely want to go check it out.
I actually have an ever evolving blog at the moment.
Sure.
So the blog that I publish is actually published through my company's act.
Okay.
So there's like multiple engineers that are working on the blogs, but I am actually actively finally working on a blog, because usually what happens is that I work on the blog and then I say, oh, I just found a new blogging platform. I need to change to this and try it out. And so it's like, one of those things where I'm like constantly changing blog platforms.
Right.
So instead of doing that, I'm going to stick to one, and I'm actually going to be doing a blog. And I would love to get in touch with you guys and just kind of talk more.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Because
So
I would really like to help you out.
that's
In any way I can.
I will take it, Michelle. I will take it.
so send us a link to
for
whatever
sure,
blog
for sure.
platform you end up on, and we will definitely stay in touch. We'll
Yes.
send you an email after this and make sure we stay in contact. And in the meantime, thank you so much, and we'll talk
thank
to you
you.
again soon.
Thank you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
was
Take
awesome.
care.
Bye.
Bye. It's okay. Whoa, that was amazing. Thank you, Michelle. I can't say it loud enough or excited enough.
We didn't get into technology as deeply maybe as we have with some other people, but understanding that socially and the culture type side of things, it can be a hard thing to navigate.
Right.
But I believe in your ability to do it, and it's good to know that other people have had some, interesting experiences, especially when you have a maybe, a drive or a strong personality, which I can tell you all the horror stories of all the people I upset over my career. We can do that one day.
There's a
Anyway.
blog in and of itself.
Well,
But that was so great. It was
thank
so
you
good.
all for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Amber.
Take care.
See ya.